Welcome to Can, the marketing podcast. I'm Ben from Human Digital, the B2B marketing agency.
And I'm Steph from Q Marketing, making brands shine since ages ago.
This week, we're talking comebacks.
Like us after a long week.
Indeed. We release a new episode every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hey, Steph, how's it going?
Great. Ben, how are you today? Where are you? Tell us where you are, because I can tell that actually neither of us in Auckland today. Where are you?
No, I know. I am in Melbourne. I am in South Yarra. I did my favourite Barry's boot camp workout last night, which was good. Definitely makes me feel like I'm back over in Australia. They don't have Barry's in New Zealand. So whenever I'm here,
What is Barry's boot camp for the uninitiated, please?
So Barry's boot camp is a dark room where they have treadmills along the wall and they have red lights. So they call it the red room, and then they have a floor work, and then they have an instructor that yells at you while playing dance music. So you choose either you start on the treadmills or you start on the floor, and you basically run until you pass out, and then you move onto the floor and you exercise until your muscles fail you, and then you do it again. And at the end, you're a sweaty mess, and they give you a nice towel that's been soaked in eucalyptus, and it's very nice.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a reason to visit Melbourne. I'll keep that in mind.
That's good. So I actually started Barry's in New York. So it is an American chain. And yeah, they've been in Australia for a while. It's not a cheap workout. I think the cheapest you can do is $30 for one. So it's it's a lot. But it's good. Whereabouts are you, Steph?
Okay, so I'm in Pi here. So I am beaming to you from a treetop Airbnb, so I came up for the week, due to some unfortunate circumstances actually, but it's been really lovely to be up here because the business has been around for 2 years, and actually this is the exact week 2 years ago that I sat in a dingy little apartment room and decided on the name of my business. So in some ways it's kind of nice.
Oh, 2 years. Congratulations. So Q Marketing is 2 years old.
Q Marketing is 2 years old. And not only that, I caught up this morning with a friend of mine from high school. So, who lives up here. So it's kind of not, like I haven't seen her for 30 years. So it's kind of cool. So it's been lovely to be up here. Nice to be out of Auckland for a change.
That's good. That's good. And what else has been happening in your week?
Okay, so big news from my side that we had what's called the Best of the Best Awards. So the Auckland Business Chamber do a really awesome job of supporting Auckland businesses. So their whole the 2 Degrees Business Awards are there to celebrate businesses that do really well and are growing kind of the Auckland economy, I suppose. And what's cool about that is you get businesses that might just be electricians or plumbers and one-man bands, or you might get big organizations like hire staff, for example. And so it was really cool to go to the Best of the Best Awards on Friday and just celebrate everyone's success, which I really enjoyed. And that's kind of been most of it. The rest of it has just been up in Pi here. Like, I feel like you probably had a busy week. What's going on in your world?
It has been a busy week. So on the social side in Auckland, went to Anne Juliet, which was super cute. If you haven't seen that musical, it's been touring for a little while. It's a story of, in Romeo and Juliet, what if Juliet lived? So that's the whole premise. It's very camp. It is very cute. It's very corny.
Which theatre?
It is in the Civic.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay, it's come up a lot on my feed, so that's also it sounds. Is it still running?
It's going around New Zealand. Not sure on the exact dates, but yeah, definitely check it out. And then also just next door is Darklight, which has moved around, but yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Great for the whole family. Take the kids along. If you don't have kids, go along. It's great for the adults. They serve wine and things like that. So yeah, a very immersive light and music experience. So definitely check that out.
I love dark lights. So I taught my kids last year because a friend of mine is involved in setting up those lights. But I have ungrateful children, and they just were like, "What is this? When can we leave?"
I don't appreciate
next time, I personally won't take my children.
No, just go with people that will appreciate it.
Date night.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Maybe not for teenagers. It's for the very young and very old.
Like,
Like me in the old side.
right.
And then
Yeah.
Melbourne for meetings, and then tomorrow is Electric Island, which is a electronic music festival. So that should be fun.
I mean,
And speaking of festivals,
is there
we
any
had
festival you
one of the biggest music festivals that ever happens every year, Coachella. And
Yes.
I've been following along. They had a partnership with YouTube, which has been amazing because you can see it, some of the live stuff for free right in the YouTube platform, plus all of the replays. Again, a lot of brand activations. You've been staying up to date with them?
So many brand activations. So have you been to Coachella?
No, I haven't.
So I went in 2018, good times, pre-COVID.
Who was the headliner?
Beyonce.
No.
No, it wasn't. It was Kygo were there and Beyonce and Eminem did a spaghetti situation, whatever that was.
Wow.
It was
So that's pre-COVID.
and 50 Cent and was there. It was awesome.
Oh my God.
It was
So
amazing.
pre-COVID, back in the
Yeah.
good old days.
But the activations are so great, and that's what we've come to expect from festivals, right? So my picks were Pinterest went offline, and I think what's really cool about what Pinterest did is they made everyone put their phones into, Ziploc bags and kind of hid them away, and then you went in and you got printed mementos basically from your time in the Pinterest cabana or whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
And I like that because it's just, I think I think we're going to see more of a push towards analog experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Pinterest is an online platform.
Yes.
How did they generate content?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
I've got no idea how they generated them.
Like if you
Maybe it was
so if you invite
them.
a whole lot of influencers to your cabana and you make them put their phones away, where the fuck is the content?
You know what they probably did? They probably took the thing that they'd made in the cabana and they took it out and then they took a photo of it. I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure they had a reason behind
And
it.
then this one I'm not so sure about, and I wanted to pick it out because I thought it was a bit odd. I don't know. I think brands can try too hard.
Always. There's so many try hard brands. There's try hard influencers too.
Yeah, 100%. So Heineken did a thing where there was a special band on the beer that you bought, and it linked you with your Spotify playlist. And if you touched your beer with somebody else and you had a similar Spotify playlist, it would light up and it would light up your. I mean, I'm like, oh,
Oh,
I don't know.
gross.
It
So
sounds.
wanky.
Hey, maybe it was great. Yeah.
And it also sounds like expensive and quite technology heavy. I
What
don't
was
know.
the point?
I might have to look it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Yeah. So I followed along. I watched the Teddy Swims act, which was really good. What I really liked about the main stage setup was how they used screens, how they used video, and how they used different elements in the production, and then how they brought that all to life in YouTube itself. The other performance, which was the headline, was Justin Bieber. There's been a lot of commentary, both good and bad. Again, very heavy on YouTube. So his whole thing was he got on stage and opened a laptop and sung his previous hits while they were playing on YouTube. So it was a lot of people loved it because he was playing his back catalog, and it's not often that he is doing his back catalog stuff. Other people thought it was bad because it was just him with a laptop on stage. So, but the impact both in person and on YouTube was quite good. So, if we're thinking about how do you make Coachella more than just the in-person experience, I think they did a really, really good job bringing it online as well. Because Coachella it's very expensive, and opening it up for free on YouTube is amazing. I mean, it's not really free. I mean, if you've got paid YouTube, you don't get ads, but if you do, you're getting a lot of ads.
But I also think, I think it's wonderful to be able to see it, like to be able to follow it along. If anything, it's a very, very long ad for Coachella because it's still not going to replace the experience while you're there.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing I've heard is that it is extremely influencer heavy, and
Yeah.
just being there with people that are filming themselves, it's maybe not the best
Well, I think,
experience.
yeah, one weekend is more so the first weekend is really influencers go. The second weekend is more for normal people because they
Normal people.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because the people that are working, and I think the other thing is, not only is the ticket price expensive, but the other feedback I hear is the food is ridiculously expensive as
Oh,
well.
insane, yeah.
So, everything, they're trying to make money on everything. But, it is one of those things. I feel like there's a few things in life that you kind of have to do. I think Burning Man is one. Not
Oh,
Burning Man isn't for everyone.
it's a,
Coachella, South by Southwest, like these are some of the events. Cannes Lions Festival.
mm,
These are the events that people want to get along to,
the only
and brands want to be at.
the only thing about Burning Man is that you're stuck in the desert for 10 days. So there's
You're stuck in the desert. You
I
have to bring
carry.
everything in that you need and out. And Burning Man have an anti-capitalist
Yeah.
um, ethos, and so you actually can't do marketing there. There's definitely no brand activations, but this is where all of the marketing and technology people go to
I feel
have a wild time.
like I'd be into that. I'm up for some anti-marketing. Why not? Just
And you're also great on your costume, Steph. I think,
Oh yeah.
from what I've seen, I think you would go all out for Burning Man.
I think you'd be right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a pretty exciting topic today. One that came from, I think, inside your head today.
It did. So it's comebacks, and this is linked to a recent episode that we did on nostalgia.
Mm,
And the reason I wanted to do comebacks is because there has been a few comebacks. I mean, there are brands that are coming back, there are movies that are coming back, there are a lot of things that are kind of being revived. And I think this is linked to nostalgia in that people are like, let's be honest, this year is not that great. We've got global wars, we've got a lot of extreme weather events.
yeah.
People are remembering a better time in the past,
Mm,
and comebacks are a great opportunity for a brand to leverage brand equity that they have built up
yeah.
and to come back potentially with greater demand than they would if they were coming back or just creating something new.
And I've been thinking about this when we came up with this topic idea because actually I also fundamentally believe marketers at their heart are generally optimists. And
100%.
yeah, and as I was trawling through examples that we could talk about today, I thought actually, who doesn't love a good comeback story?
Yeah.
But sometimes we jump a little bit on the bandwagon and go, oh, what a terrible idea.
Mm.
But a good comeback story is awesome. And I think marketers would celebrate that.
100%. And I think this year we've actually got one of the biggest comebacks that is coming back, which is Devil Wears Prada. And I think this is, one of the key events in culture that is, it's more than just a sequel. It is really reliving it with it, and they've got a massive marketing budget as well. But in terms of comebacks, I mean, I kind of see two types of comebacks. So the first is an obvious one where a brand completely goes away. Like they either go bankrupt, or they get sold, or they get bought by a competitor and the competitor kills it.
Yeah.
And then the second type of comeback is where brands, they don't really go away, but they just become invisible, and like
Yeah.
no,
I've
like
got
they're
that.
still there, but
Yeah.
they're occupying shelf space, but they're not really
Well,
making it.
maybe they've aged, and I think I've called that one the relevance comeback, and I think that's like you're right, they're still on shelf, but maybe they're only appealing to an aging or the original people that liked them, and they're just sort of dying alongside that dying alongside that potential customer from way back when they started in 1952. And then and there's some great examples. I'm really keen to see what you've got in your little vault there, Ben. But I think there's some really awesome examples of brands that have just started to die and then have found themselves becoming part of the conversation again.
And I think, one of the Kiwi ones that often gets forgotten is Georgie Pie, which was probably the most desired fast food in the country, at least in New Zealand. And so it launched in 1990. So this is like peak 90s.
Yep.
McDonald's got really upset because I think Georgie Pie was probably more popular than McDonald's, and McDonald's was like, this can't be right. So I think they acquired it in 1996 and basically absorbed it.
Yeah, and killed it, right? Yeah.
And literally
Yeah.
killed it. So it was
Yeah.
on the menu for a while. Like you could order a Georgie Pie on the McDonald's menu, but like most acquisitions, dead.
Yeah, but it
Um,
came because the thing was there wasn't there huge. So they tried to bring it back, and there was all
yeah,
this people spoke, and I was probably just as excited as anyone to try another Georgie pie, but
mm,
it was an absolute. It didn't work.
it's a flop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they brought it back in 2013 as a limited run, and yeah, people weren't buying it. Yeah,
What what do you in your view, like I think there's a couple of reasons as to why that didn't work. Why do you think it just didn't hit the mark for whatever reason? Because those people were still in living memory of having had Georgie Pie. It wasn't like you had to introduce Georgie Pie to a whole new audience necessarily. Like
it's not the same. It's like your loved brand gets bought by a global giant and killed, and then they kind of bring it back. But Georgie Pie was more than just the pie. It was the
yeah,
store. It was you weren't going to McDonald's for it.
that was and it felt it's weird, right? Because I completely agree. I think it was people wanted the whole. Well, there were a couple of things that made Georgie Pie successful, and part of that was the fact that it was $1 for a pie.
It was amazing. Oh my God. I mean, that was back like a dollar in the 90s is probably, I don't know, $4 or $5 today.
Mm. Yeah, and so, but you're right. It wasn't the same when it was a pie in amongst a burger menu. It just the two, and I think those two brands, if I kind of think about it, didn't. They're not created for the same reason. Georgie Pie had its own. It had cool marketing. It was almost, I would say, Georgie Pie kind of had that similar palette to what you'd see at Burger King now, right? So it was all
Yeah,
yellow,
or even
brown.
Foursquare. I
Yeah,
would say it was in that nostalgia. So, I mean, McDonald's, if you're open to it, Steph and I will buy the Georgie Pie brand and we will revive it.
merch out of it. Speaking of, this is a slight segue, not on topic. I've been spending a lot of time in Foursquares in regional North Island.
Do you think Georgie Pie would sit well? Who's the
Yeah,
pie supplier in Foursquare? Who's the brand of
that's a
pie?
bloody good point. I reckon Georgie Pie goes super well in a
Yeah,
Foursquare.
yeah.
You heard it here first. But I've been chatting to all the Foursquare owners and asking them about merch, and
Oh yeah,
turns out, Ben, you
yeah,
did get a pink Foursquare T-shirt because one of the staff was wearing one, and the man very kindly offered to sell me one today.
yes.
I might
Is it
come back
is
with.
very popular?
It's quite cool. It's a cool. Like I could walk into a Foursquare, I could
Yeah,
stand behind the counter, and I could
could work there. Wow.
selling. Oh, do you know what I'll do? I'll get some Georgie pies.
Yeah.
I'll make up some Georgie pie packets, and I'll just that'd be
Just
great.
make them.
I
Just
think.
dream it up.
Okay, so yeah, so I think the point for that one is, whilst everyone said they wanted it, right? So and there was huge PR around it, and the people spoke, and they're like, we want, like, bring Georgie
We
pie back,
want Georgie Pie.
want Georgie
Yeah.
pie, but
No,
actually when
they actually
when
didn't.
push came to shove, they did it, and I think it was a
And
PR exercise not executed well.
and it's novelty, right? Like, there's a difference between launching something properly and having it stayed on the menu. Because if it's going to be on the menu, it becomes a staple. Like
That's boring.
this was just a novelty, really. It wasn't a real launch.
And I think perhaps maybe the outcome there would have been, what could they have done to wrap around and tie into that nostalgia? So it probably would have done more of an experience around it, and they possibly would have done it as a limited time, because you get people want the in and the out. You go, it's only available for a limited period of time. I think that would have been a much better listen to us. Okay.
So then you've got another brand comeback, and this one is deep in the heart of Aussies. So this is Bonds. So Bonds.
Yes.
So I mean, underwear is such an amazing category. I feel like there is at the top you've got your high designer brands, and then you've got kind of like the top middle, and Calvin Klein definitely dominates, at least in men's, fashionable men's, maybe gay men.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this might,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my partners were any Calvin Kleins, but, go for it.
Yeah. So, Calvin Klein, they're at a very high price point. They are they are the aspirational underwear without being, designer.
It's not a middle-aged man's undie, I don't think.
Definitely not. I
No.
mean, they are running fairly tight lines. Like there's no there's no hiding in these underwear. And then you've got Bonds, and I feel like Bonds is definitely going for more of. They're not as pricey as Calvin Klein. They're still quality.
Yeah. I feel
But
like if you were to think about their positioning, you would just sort of, it's regular everyday comfort. Like it's
yeah,
it's comfort first. It's cotton. It's anchored in cotton. I mean,
mhm.
and I'm not saying this because I know this to be a fact. I'm just saying this is how I would. This is where I would say the positioning for Bonds is sitting. And they actually, it's men, women, children, babies. It's multiple.
It's everyone. And I mean, Calvin Klein also does that, but they're trying to be, well, they are much more of a, like they do women's underwear as well. I actually was on the aeroplane and I saw someone with a Calvin Klein sweatshirt and had Calvin Klein in place. And I'm like, why are you wearing an underwear brand as a sweatshirt? But anyway.
No, okay. Well, now we've digressed. This is.
I know. But anyway, let's stick with Bonds. So
Bonds. Yes.
Bonds never went away, but they recently launched into America and they did that. And while they did that, they broke the internet
Yeah.
by potting Robert Irwin. And it was the most successful campaign, I think, of the last 12 months. Not only did it engage the Americans, but it also engaged the Australians and the rest of the
Oh,
world
I
who
mean, middle-aged
lost
women,
their
yeah,
shit.
middle-aged women swooning,
Yes.
swooning. And in fact, I listened to podcasts at the time where people were like, I don't feel like I can watch this. It's
No, exactly. But everyone ate it up. Obviously, Robert Irwin, he is an international celebrity. He's been on a lot of American TV, Dancing with the Stars, I think. And I think his sister has been on as well.
yeah.
So anyway, they
Darling of the nation. Like you've picked
couldn't
someone,
have chosen a better person.
you've picked someone who's of the moment. There's I wonder if there's a little bit of an analogy there too, because what worked really well with Americans with Crocodile Dundee, and for a very very long time, people thought that's what Australia was like, and then
Yeah, it's just playing into the stereotype.
I
I
reckon,
love it.
yeah,
It
I
is.
reckon, yeah, and then you've got this hot,
Oh,
hot, and what a great story. He is so Australian and a lovely, genuine, and it
100%.
fits so nicely with the Bonds brand. So I think this is almost, it's less of a comeback from the dead, this one. It's more just a reinvention of relevancy.
100%. And what they got from that, 9 billion impressions. 9 billion.
You're gonna,
Like
I hope there's salesmen. I mean, at the end of the day, I hope there's sales, but
crazy.
they probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was the perfect storm. And I think this was a moment for Bonds. And I think, what a great way to launch into the American market and to really put them. And I think by doing that, they probably put the category back. So maybe they won some Calvin Klein buyers back to Bond.
Which, okay, well, did they win you?
No. They won me with the advertising, but no, I didn't change my purchasing behavior,
So
unfortunately.
speaking of, so I think there might be a theme here, and I found a wonderful example that just brought such a smile to my face. Are you familiar with the Old Spice reinvention?
I love Old Spice. I've seen a little bit of the reinvention, but tell me more.
Okay, so I've got to find, and I hope this doesn't start. Okay, so they had this campaign called "The Man Your Man Could Smell Like."
Uh-huh.
And so I'm going to encourage everyone to go and find. In fact, I think we will definitely put the link in the show notes. So
Mhm.
Old Spice, we all know that was the smell of Dad, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
Old Spice, and I think this is one of the things that came out of this example. I thought was really true is drive your decisions based on insight.
Mhm.
So and I'm a big fan of that. Kind of what is the way we can marry up what our brand stands for and who we are with our customer, and what is the thing that we know about the customer, that or the category that we is an opportunity. And so Old Spice discovered that something like 60 or 70% of men, or some ridiculous number, all use women's body wash, because that's what's in, not women's body wash, but just the standard body wash in the shower. And they decided that through the avenue of the body wash category, that was a way to reinvent Old Spice, because getting men to change their scent in terms of underarm deodorant and the rest of it was probably a step too far for a younger generation. So they basically did it in the classic old adage of sex sells, and they had this man. The ad itself is brilliant, and it's the tagline is the man your man could smell like. And so it was purely down to the great creative, I think, and basically forcing men to think, well, why do I'd, I'd much rather smell like a man. I don't want to smell like a lady. Just made Old Spice cool again. And then they thought they were going to increase sales by 15%, like exponential growth off the back of this campaign. So that was in 2013, I think.
And that you bring up a really important point, which is one of the most common mistakes in a brand revival is assuming that the audience that remembers you is the audience you need. And it's very much the case it's not. You're trying to go after a new audience, but still leverage that equity that you have. So the people that remember Georgie Pie are no longer teenagers. The
Yeah.
people that are buying underwear in the US were not thinking about bonds, and nostalgia gets the door open. And you have to have something else to keep people in the room. So Old Spice, they're changing the format. You're not spraying it on to wear in public. It's maybe just that lingering fresh scent after you've had the shower.
And sometimes I think the key to a comeback, right? So and I think we've seen this a little bit in fashion. I think Burberry's a really good example of this. Sometimes it's a case that you've extended your brand so far into so many subcategories that you've lost all relevancy. There was an example I found for Oroton, actually, and they had just sort of spread themselves too thin, and they spent a lot of time about 10 years ago going through and going, what are the core products that we want to be known for, and which channels do we want to sell them in, and just complete. Because I think to stage a comeback, sometimes you've got to actually strip the business back. Like if you're a heritage business that's been around, Country Road has probably gone through these cycles as well, where you expand into different categories, and all of a sudden you've gone so far from the thing that you were known for. You need to come back, and it's almost like what we are talking about the other week with challenger brands. When you're a challenger brand and when you just start out, you've got to pick that one thing, and you do that one thing really, really well. And I wonder if that's just an avenue for if you're going to stage a comeback, stand for something and make it really obvious.
And it's that, like, that's the equity that's being built up in the brand. I did a bit of book research, and there is a author called David Atker, and he talks about 4 core dimensions of brand equity. The first being brand awareness. So that's, how prolific you are, how memorable you are. The perceived quality. So is this, and I think with Old Spice, what they did really well is that scent stayed on brand the whole time. Like they didn't really vary it. Like Old Spice is Old Spice.
Yep.
You know what you're going to get. Brand associations. So who's attached to that? Your dad, or they used a few celebrities over the time, and brand loyalty. And these aren't feelings; these are assets, and they exist in the mind of customers. They accrue over time, and they don't disappear overnight. So they just sit there dormant, waiting for that brand to reactivate.
One of the things that came up in my research, I'm in two minds about this. The 2 a Year Right campaign, and they brought that back. I'm not sure that it worked.
No.
But
and do you think it worked the first time?
100%. Yeah.
And so what's the difference? The audience changed, or we're too woke now to have that kind of campaign?
Yeah, really good point, because sometimes I think that some people think that a comeback is, so I think it can go two ways. You can be sitting in a marketing team and go, let's go back to the things that made us us, and let's like go into the archives and see what's in there. I don't have a problem with that, and I think it's not a bad idea. But I don't know that that's always necessarily the right way to go, because and I don't know if the comeback campaign for TUI worked. Not. If I don't, I have not inside that business, so I couldn't tell you. But what from an outsider's perspective, when the original campaign came out, it was part of the vernacular. And you're right, we were living in a different decade where very inappropriate things could be said, and
Yeah,
not.
and it was more acceptable. I think they can kind of be said now, but they have to be done in a way that is a little more nuanced
Yeah,
and almost self-depreciating. Like you can't lean into a lot of the language that was used. You have to do it in a very nuanced way, and it's really hard to do.
yeah.
And it's really easy for it to backfire.
And the other thing for TUI is though, just understanding that category, they were sitting in a category that was declining, and that's the other thing. And so, how do you become more relevant? Like, how do you put your head above the pulpit a little bit in a category that is losing people out of it in the first place?
Mhm.
And so, if that's also, it's almost like a double negative, because you're spending extra money to try and grab people who are leaving. Uh,
And did they change the product?
no, what I think would have happened, because TUI's also tried to go into other categories, RTD,
Mm.
all sorts of things.
And has that worked for them?
No.
No.
But yeah, they stuck. It was purely that campaign is purely around the original product itself. So yeah,
And
but
I think that like not all brands age well. They don't all depreciate uniformly. And I think some things survive better than others. I think loyalty, which we talked about, is the most fragile. And without that reinforcement and habitual purchase, it depreciates real quick.
yeah,
Like, and we talked about that kind of like manufactured versus real loyalty. Awareness is much more durable because you've achieved that genuine cultural penetration. So, they're drinking you in movies, you're on the shelf in Shortland Street. You're in culture, you're there, you're presented at the party. If you're having a barbecue, you're on the shelf. And I think that's where dormant brands that consistently show up can really survive the years of silence because they were such a key part, and people remember them quickly because they drank them at key moments in their life.
yeah, that's right. You can come back to it. Um, Actually, this is complete side note. Have you read all the news about Allbirds this week?
I
Speaking,
haven't read this week, but I know Allbirds have been up and down for the last probably 6 7 years. Like Darling's amazing, and then kind of slipped. What's happening this week?
okay. So this is I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but I think it's really relevant as a comeback. So but businesses in decline going to get bought out for 39 million, which is a shadow of what they were worth.
Mm,
As just to reiterate the point, Allbirds started as a sustainable shoe brand, based on
that's right.
a Reno-based shoe brand. Their new business positioning is in the world of AI, like basically supplying hardware for AI businesses,
Okay.
and they're going to rename it to something Freebird AI or something outrageous.
Oh my God.
It's such a pivot.
Wow. So they're no longer making shoes.
No,
They're
not
an
even
AI
shoes.
company.
AI.
Okay. Wow. This could be a comeback. It could be a comeback.
Watch the space.
That's crazy,
It's
Steph.
it is
Crazy.
absolutely insane. So sorry, that was if ever could be a
So
comeback,
it
could be a disaster.
so the other thing are brand associations, and like these are the images, characteristics, and feelings that are connected to a brand. And like it with Allbirds, I mean, they were worn by, I want to say, tech
Absolutely.
bros. Like it was they were the Silicon Valley shoe. They were,
And then it went to the dads.
yeah, yeah. Well, the dads love sneakers, so they're definitely going to go to the dads. I've owned a couple of pair of Allbirds. I thought they were okay. That they weren't the best share that I ever owned. They were ugly, and also I found the grip wore away really quick. So they just became really slippery really quick. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
interested to see what their AI offering is.
Yeah.
I also think that nostalgia isn't really a strategy. I think it's
Yeah.
just it's an emotional state. It's that positive feeling. Like it's really not a full business strategy. There has to be much more in the strategy, and including the four Ps,
Yeah,
making
it's
sure
not
that you.
campaign. I think the other thing I really want to make the point on here is if you've got a brand that has lost relevancy, I don't. Sometimes a campaign will get you out of it, but actually sometimes it's other things. It's looking at where your channel distribution. It's looking about maybe you've got too many SKUs. Like maybe you've developed SKUs for the wrong kinds of like it could. It could be lots of things. I think if you're going to make a campaign can help you tell the story, but I think you want to get the story right first.
Yeah. And I think, like everything, timing is also everything as
Yeah,
well. And I think it's understanding when the right time might be. So TUI, maybe this isn't the right time.
yeah.
All birds, I'm not sure. Um, like if we think about fashion with the Y2K revival, Juicy Couture
No,
and
yeah,
Von Dutch, they didn't come back because they improved their products. I mean, maybe they did. I don't think it was. But they came back because the aesthetic they represented became interesting again.
yeah.
So
That
Von
was
Dutch,
your own doing, right?
Charlie XCX, but I think it's being ready for it. So it's being
Yeah.
ready for it, watching it, and going with the market, like going with, I mean, Charlie XCX sings a song called Von Dutch.
I mean,
So
you couldn't ask for better marketing, could you?
100%. I mean, maybe I don't know if there was some kind of collab as well as Juicy. They with the only thing I can remember about Juicy is their velour low-rise
Oh, it's like
pants. Oh
same.
my God.
No,
With
pink.
the bum sticking out. I think,
Yeah.
was
Paris Hilton.
it was Paris, but also they've been worn everywhere.
And the
Like,
fake and the fake tan.
oh my God. And wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Are we gonna get away with not talking about Crocs here? Because I feel like surely we have to.
Well, Crocs is interesting. Did they have a comeback? I don't think they were ever there. I think they just came into
Oh,
their own. Or do you think they had a moment, they went away and then they came back? What's your thinking? My thinking is Crocs were never cool. The story that I understand for Crocs is they were a functional shoe. They were worn by chefs and hospo workers and nurses. And then they kind of became an anti-fashion statement. They're still worn by a lot of people, a lot of kids, but I'm not sure. Did
I
they go away and come back?
great question. You're probably right. What they but it would they definitely planned. There were some things that they planned to move into the fashion space, and I think that what a bold move with
Mm,
with a shoe like that. So they strategically had collabs with fashion influencers.
hmm
Although I wonder if perhaps it was a movement of a particular group of people that adopted it first, and then they saw that and then they just really leaned into it and amplified it and saw the opportunity.
I
So
think that's it. I think
yeah,
it's understanding the timing and understanding where you play in culture
yeah.
and leaning in and being ready to adjust your product to your new consumer. So, and there's the volume as well. I mean, were Ugg boots ever cool? I feel like every corner in Australia, there's a
So
freaking Ugg boot shop. Who is buying them? I have never owned a pair. I never want to own a pair. I
yeah.
think wearing wool next to my feet sounds absolutely
There's
disgusting.
the man who wore Allbirds, but fine.
Yeah, well, Allbirds, I had a layer of cotton sock against the wool, but yeah, I feel like the people that are wearing the juicy culture are also wearing the Ugg boots.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Have you ever owned Ugg boots, Steph? Are they going to make a comeback?
I wear them as slippers like you're supposed to. That's why I wear
Yeah,
them.
it
They're
is where you're
great. Of
supposed to wear
of
them.
a winter eve. They're great.
But would you wear them to the supermarket?
No, no, I've
No.
got standards. I've got very strong opinions about what's appropriate to wear to a supermarket and what isn't. Not appropriate for a marketing podcast, but I have strong feelings.
Indeed.
Yep. So for anyone who's, I suppose, to close it all out and go, look, if you are sitting on a brand that potentially you think has lost some relevancy, what do we want people to be thinking about?
Timing is everything. You can talk to your customers. I mean, that's the main thing. Like, look at what's happening in culture, look at the trends. Does your brand fit?
And have you gone too far with what you like? Have you strayed so far from what you originally thought you stood for that you're actually not in the right spot anymore?
Agreed. So if everyone starts wearing slippers to the supermarket, watch out, because Uggs might be coming back.
Some people would say they are.
Yeah, some people will say they never went away. I'm just obviously just not the target market.
No. And on that note,
Can the Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Human Digital and Q Marketing. Our editor is Bruna Barbosa. New episodes drop weekly, so tell your friends and colleagues.
if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe to Canned wherever you listen. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you want the full visual experience, check us out on YouTube.
See you next week.